Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Mike and this is Build and Tinker, and we are back with the John Wick Mustang. We had a little bit of a hiccup in the last video because we were supposed to be doing issues 3, 4 and 5 and issue 4 was missing, but we have it. So this is the third pack and that's issues 6, 7 and 8, but we're also going to be going back and doing issue 4 which we missed. So let's get started. So here is the elusive issue 4, and it is, as we suspected, the other bank of cylinders. We did the first bank in issue 3, I think it was, and issue 4 gives us the other side, because of course it's a V8, so you have 4 per side. So I think assembly is going to be kind of familiar, but let's get this put together and see what we have. So the first step is to take this cast piece of engine block and the end plate, which we managed to figure out last time. It literally just slots onto the end here, but it's not grippy enough to grip, even though it could have been made to be, but we should just gently place it there. And then we take the cover, and this has to, the correct way around of course, sit over the top, and with this on top it holds this end plate in, so don't worry if it drops out. We are screwing this in from the underside, so we're going to put the whole thing together and gently put it upside down on the bench. And they want us to use these C screws. And that's a pretty straightforward piece of installation. The next piece to fit is this valve breather. And it's a little red and black filter. It's quite a smart looking piece, and it fits into this hole on the top of the cover here. It doesn't appear to be keyed in any way, it's just round, so we can put it in anyway. It's just a gentle push fit, you don't need to push it too far. Once it's in, it's not going anywhere by the looks of it. Okay, so another really nicely detailed part here is this oil filler cap. There we are, it's got the yellow logo and oil can, and I just think that looks really quite smart. This goes on a particular way round, I think. According to the picture on the magazine, it goes facing that way, although it does look like you can rotate it to whichever way you want, really. There is one final step here which we are going to need our tweezers for, and that's a little sticker. And it looks like they only give us one, so we have one shot at this. Very, very small sticker with the Ford logo. And it's going here on this sort of indent on the top of the rocker cover with the Ford badge on my left here. I'm just going to use some tweezers to try and position that where we want it. I don't have particularly steady hands. Okay, but it looks like we've managed to get it into place. The sticker itself is actually made of metal. It's a little metal plate, so it's not a paper sticker. So do be careful not to scratch it, especially if you're using tweezers. And there that is now attached. I think that's pretty cool. And that really is everything for issue 4. So pretty quick and easy, but important nevertheless. And we'll crack on now and move to issue 6. So with issue 6 we get a lovely combination of nice big pieces and some fiddly bits. So we have some hoses, a packet of screws, and then this is the main part of the block, which is going to bring the two cylinder heads together. But we also have what looks to be a number of spark plug caps, and they're not all the same. If you look at this sprue here, you'll see that we've got some small ones, some large ones, and the same here. So we seem to have 6 large ones and 10 small ones. Okay, so I think we've probably got some spares. Okay, so that's good. The very first step is to take the piece we've actually just finished assembling in issue 4, and then we're going to attach to it. So there's this piece here, this whole cylinder head part, and we're going to attach to it this, which is part of a manifold by the looks of it. So there's two rectangular cutouts on the side of this cylinder head, and there's two rectangular posts on the inside of here, and literally you just put them in and it looks like they just hold into place there, and the rest of the engine's going to kind of hold that together. So we'll hold this in place with our hands right now, and then we're going to take this here, which is the sort of main part of the engine block. You'll notice there's an R and an L embossed, so we need to make sure we get the right side. And we're going on to the R side, and by simply bringing these two posts onto these two holes here, and there's a couple of little posts on this manifold are going to engage in two little holes here as well. So this whole thing will just come together like that. And then once we've screwed it in place through the bottom, it's not going to come apart again. So we're going to need some F screws. We need two of those, and they just go straight into the bottom here. And another one there. Okay, and that's all nicely stuck together. And now we have to fit these spark plug caps. So the spark plug caps that we're putting on the four holes here, where the spark plugs would go, are the smaller ones of the two types on the sprue. So we're just going to take 4 of them off. They've given us 5 on each sprue, so it does look like we have a spare, which is always helpful. And I think it's mandatory that we're going to have to use the tweezers. Each of these spark plug caps has a thin post and a thick one. It looks like the thick post goes into the model and the thin post is going to be left exposed, probably for us to then put a spark plug cable on. So we're going to hold this by the thinner of the two, and we're just going to try and insert it gently into the hole in the top of the manifold. That went in so easy, I didn't think it had gone in. But it has. So that was a nice surprise. Let's try the next one. So again, we're just holding the thin part and offering the thicker part into that hole, and actually you can sort of hold it with the tweezers and then use your other thumb or finger to push it in, but they're going in quite nicely. Okay, so that's all 4 of those in. One of them dropped out, so I just had to put it back in again, but I think what you need to do is make sure you push them quite firmly home, but make sure that the little post is sticking straight outwards, because we're going to need to attach a hose to that at some point soon. So they also give us 2 of these larger hose connectors, and they have again a thin end and a thick end. The thick end goes into the top of the cylinder head. Again, they don't seem to be keyed, but they do need to be facing outwards. Just push them home all the way. They're a little bit bigger, so I'm not needing to use tweezers for these. And there they are. And of course we now repeat that on the other half of the engine, so we'll just do the same on this one. And there we have the spark plug connectors installed on the other side. We've now got some hoses to fit, and there's quite a lot of hoses in this little bag, so let's get them all out and have a look. So they're all various lengths, and they are all different, so let's try and arrange them in length order so we know which ones we're looking at. So here are all the hoses in order of size, and we need to make sure we get them in the right order when we install them, and they are basically 6 E, F, G, H, I and J. So it wants us to start with the longest, and we actually take this one, so we're going to start with this side of the engine, the one with the little red breather on it, and we're attaching the first hose to this post here on the end, which is nearest to me, and they do just gently slide on. It's very straightforward. We bring that round to the back of the engine on this side, and there is a metal post. In fact, there's a variety of metal posts on the end here. There's a cluster of 3 on this end, and we're going to put it in the bottom of those 3. And then we take the next one down, and that goes on the other end post. Again, round the back of the side of the engine, and it goes on the next post up. So you can see they're connected like that. And then G goes on to the first of the spark plugs, which is just here. And it goes on to the topmost of the 3 posts on the end of the block. And then we go one down, so H, and again we go into the next spark plug along. And then we're going to go to the next row of studs, and we're going to go to the bottom one, so it connects like so here. And we're just going down in size order, so the next one, the next smallest one, which is I, goes on this 3rd spark plug, and on the next post up. And the last one on that plug, and then around to the final posts, like so. So that's all of those hoses and wires attached. And you should still have this plate left. We're not using that just yet, and obviously the other engine block, which we're not doing just yet. So that's the end of issue 6, and we'll crack on with issue 7. So in issue 7 we take a departure from the engine, we're moving on to the transmission. So those engine parts that we had left over, we're all going to have to be careful not to lose. And the components we get with issue 7 are 1/2 of the transmission, another what looks like manifold for the engine block, a big piece of water hose, some screws, and in this packet there's some plastic brackets, so we need to be careful not to lose those. In fact, we start by installing one of those. We're going to install 7C, which is this piece here. Let's see if you can see that. It's got a little stud on the back as well for attaching it, and it attaches into this part of the transmission. So right in the rear of the transmission casing there's a number of holes. The one we're looking to use is this one. So we're going to be putting it into there, and it needs to face downwards, and I think it is slightly keyed. Okay, it just goes into there like that. The next bracket is this one here. It is 7D, and it has 2 tiny little posts, and you can see there are 2 tiny little holes there. So that bracket pushes into there facing upwards. And then finally the one remaining bracket that we have goes onto this hole here in the square part, and that just pushes in. So there is a correct way round. It should be facing that way when it's done. Okay, so then we take this part of the manifold and the water pipe. And the water pipe needs to connect onto the back, and you'll see there's a shaped hole and it matches the shape of that. So you can't really get that wrong, it just slots into place. But we need a screw in there to hold it, which is screw G. And we just hold that together and then pop a screw in there. Now we're going to take the engine block that has the little yellow dipstick attached to it, and again we're going to bring this manifold into it like so, this way up, sorry, just like we did on the other side of the engine. And then with the main block of the engine here, you can bring all of that together like so, and then gently holding that together, we need to put some F screws into there. But that's the end of the assembly for this issue. So we've now got the 2 halves of our engine sort of brought together and one water pipe. We have the beginnings of a transmission with 1/2 of the transmission assembly, and that leaves us just one more issue, issue number 8. And issue 8 is a little bit more of the same. We basically have, if I pop these parts to one side, we have the other half of the transmission, and then with that another very small bracket. This one again, similar to one on the other side, 2 little studs on it, and they get pushed into this piece here at the back. You'll see there are 2 holes, and again there's really only one way it can go on and orientate the correct way, so we just push that into place. And then we need to bring these 2 halves of the transmission together, but whilst we do that we're going to insert this piece, which is the first sort of universal joint connection for the prop. So that needs to go in the end here where it would be gripped by the moulding, so you can see it just turns, and in the side we have 3 holes. So without letting all of this fall apart, we'll hold it together and get 3 screws in. And then from a couple of issues ago we have this black plate here, and this goes on the end of the bell housing and it just sits over the front. You'll see there's some sort of recesses that these elements can sit into, and it just sits over the top like that. And again we need some more E screws to hold that in. And then the transmission can go to one side for a second while we bring our engine back. And we obviously did all this hose work on one side, and now we have to repeat that for the other side, and it literally is a case of just doing the exact same thing. So we were nearly there, we got most of the hoses on, but the studs are very, very small, and basically you get your fingers in and you end up knocking one out for every one you put in. So I think what I'm going to do is take this to my workbench upstairs and I will glue these in place ready for the next video, but you get the idea. It's the same with all these part works. The hoses are always really fiddly and they never stay on, and you end up losing them all before the build's finished. So you could either choose to wait and do this later, or you could glue them in place, which is what I'm going to do. So that's the end of that issue, and in fact the end of the video. So I think everyone has the same issue with these hoses. They just want to fall off all the time, and I don't really know why they have us put them on so early in the build, but I think gluing them on is probably the best thing anyway, and then they'll stay on forever. Tiny little bit of super glue on the end of something like a cocktail stick is all you need. You don't need tons, and then it just means that they're there forever. So I'm going to do that off camera. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't done already. It really helps to promote the channel, and most of my viewers are not subscribed, so if you could do that, it would really help me out. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Take care.